And I think actually the biggest thing right now especially with leaders and business owners, is they are very busy. My question often, and literally yesterday afternoon in church, we were talking about this specific thing. How often do we take time to actually think?
Welcome back to Torch Talk, the podcast where we spotlight bold local leaders leading their businesses with grit and purpose. Today, I have Wes Keim, owner and CEO of Grandview Exteriors, with us. Wes is not only a customer of Fierce Creative Solutions, but I would count him as a friend. He's in my local BNI networking group, and I really enjoy the time that I get to spend talking to Wes. So I'm excited. We're going to jump into business and learn a little bit more about what makes you tick.
Perfect. Let's roll.
You're excited?
Absolutely.
Is this the first podcast you've ever been on?
No.
Oh, how many have you been on?
One other one.
Oh, okay. We're only the second.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
Got it. All right. So I would like to understand a little bit more about your business journey. So how did you end up where you are right now?
It's actually a little bit of a story behind it. It started all the way back in 2008, actually. I had a chance to stain a gazebo, and that was the first time that I experienced being somewhat like a business owner, and it was actually through my uncle at the time, my uncle, that I was able to get the business. And that gave me a little bit of an experience. I was kind of surprised when I told him what my daily wages are, and he was like, oh, well, I think we can double that. And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Then it was kind of put off to the side, got married at 21. And soon after that, I had another opportunity to start it again, and was doing staining and painting on Saturdays and sometimes in the evenings. It got to a point where we were actually so busy that we had to make a choice: were we going to actually make a business out of it, or were we planning to just completely scratch it? Because we were getting to a point where we're so busy, and you might know what this means, but spinning on a hamster wheel.
Was Marlene painting and staining with you on the
No.
weekends? Okay.
No.
But still, it was a lot. You were working and then working.
So I bought a home at 19, and taking care of that, plus also being away every weekend through the summer months, it can put a little bit of a strain on you. And then in 2014, we were at a point where we actually transitioned into commercial roofing. It was mainly into coatings. From 2014 and 15, it was a partnership business. And at the end of that year, I purchased my partner's share of the company. Was by myself for 2 years, and then unfortunately I fell off a roof and broke my foot. And then I merged with Grandview. From 2018 up till 2021, we were partnerships, and then my brother-in-law approached me about maybe buying his share of the business, so I bought his share of the business and became the sole owner of Grandview. So that gives you a little bit of an idea as to the journey through the time of 2008 all the way up till today. So,
Okay. What do you feel like? I always think it's interesting to look back and think, why was I doing what I was doing then? Are there any experiences that you feel like helped you really with the role that you're in now?
There were actually quite a few scenarios. It was our first year in business. We were doing a tear-off and had no clue what we were doing. It was rather interesting because of the fact that we didn't have any safety equipment in place. It was just two owners on the roof tearing off. But anyway, what came out of that was unfortunately, a pop-up storm hit and water dripped on the inside. And the general manager at the facility we're working at was extremely not happy. And he actually ended up, we had to work through with him, talking a lot and so forth, just to try and get him to actually trust us again to keep on going. But finally, he did see that we were not planning to back down, and we were going to be committed to it throughout. So that gave me an impression that has stayed with me to this day in negotiating with people. And even earlier than that, I had made a major mistake on when I was staining a cabin. Unfortunately, I got a lot of overspray on a cabin. The owner calls me up, and he's really upset. And that to this day, I can still relive that experience. I've moved on from it, but it taught me a lot in working with people as to understanding where they're coming from and why they view it maybe the way they do. So those were two scenarios that had a lasting impact on me.
I like that. It is nothing like trial by fire a little bit sometimes. So
Yes.
okay, so tell us about Grandview as an organization now. You've kind of gone through an evolution from Grandview Roofing to Grandview Exteriors. So tell us about, like, what is Grandview Exteriors? What's your goal? What's your mission?
So backing up a little bit, if I may,
Yeah.
to Grandview Roofing was geared towards commercial roofing. And at the time, we had figured we're going to stay with coatings and all that. Well, it turns out that, with coatings, they have their limitations. First of all, you can't work through the winter months. So you need to be realistic if you're going to plan to grow, that it's probably not going to work the greatest to just stick with coatings. Secondly is I also ran into quite a bit of problems with the coatings, of having to go back and fix them. So we had to make some changes. And with those changes, we also had to make a name change because of what we were really wanting to go after, and that was more or less into all things exterior. And when we made that transition in 2023 to Grandview Exterior Systems, we had already plans to branch out into gutters, residential roofing as well as siding. That is still in the future, but what we've learned from that experience, and we have already attempted it, and what we learned from that experience was it's okay to try something, but it's also you have to also be okay if it doesn't work. You sometimes need to take a step back, reevaluate, and see what the path looks like again.
What is that book by Seth Godin, The Dip? Have you read that?
I have not yet, no.
It's like basically knowing when to quit or pivot. So like trying new things is always a good thing, but sometimes the best decision is knowing when to stop the new thing or pivot, basically, like you said, being adaptable on our feet. That's what all entrepreneurs are, aren't they?
Yes. If they're not, they're gonna experience something else, and that is a decline.
So you have been an entrepreneur now for how many years?
11 years. Let's just call it 11 years.
11. I'm trying to do the math on my own. It's not working. I don't math well.
Well, if you go all the way back to when I had initially started with the whole staining thing, it would have been coming up on, 17 years.
Okay, so that's a good amount of time. What would be advice that you would give to a new entrepreneur just starting out?
That is a very good question. What I will say is to establish values early on in how you will decide on how to make decisions. What I see a lot of guys doing is going into business and they start making money and the money gets a hold of them and then they go down a downward spiral. Instead, focus on setting a plan for a vision for your company. What do you want to accomplish? How do you want to make the world different just because you existed? And then utilizing that to grow the company. Because you can do anything in life that you want. If you don't have a purpose to work towards, it's probably going to flop. The second thing would have been to establish values early on to help me actually make decisions. Those didn't come about until probably closer to like 2023. So looking back now, I see that as some of the things that if I would have been able to establish those in 2014, it would have prevented probably a lot of trial and error. However, I will say that I probably also wouldn't be sitting here today the way I am if it hadn't been for those. So that would be my advice, is to focus on getting clear on what you really want to accomplish in life and how you want to make a difference instead of focusing only on the money, because money, I call money as being a measuring stick of a person's character. So
how do your values then drive your decisions now?
So when decisions need to be made, I am giving our team members, I personally don't like the word employee. I like it to view it as a team because we're working towards a common goal. And if you have a team of guys that are focused on the same values, they can make decisions without me being present, which actually saves me time and energy because I don't need to be involved in every little decision that there is. I know that if it's going to be 80% as good as of what I would have done it, I need to be okay with it.
Okay, and then how do you use that at all for hiring, for firing? Like, what does that look like?
So that is actually something that we started, I think it was last year, and I really focused on getting our values laid out. As to that, they are also actionable, because having a nice little plaque on the wall doesn't do anybody a lick of good if it's not followed through on. But what we actually ended up doing is getting the values laid out and putting a description with them so that they're actionable. From that, we share those with potential new hires, and we ask them to reflect on them for a week. And then we'll ask them if they're okay to move forward with those or not. If they are, great, we'll have another conversation. If they're not, no hard feelings, go ahead.
We actually include them in our job descriptions that we post publicly, so it's the upfront. And then we also do the same thing. So we take that and actually apply it individually to each role. Since we're just talking about it, you didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you because I think it's interesting. So
yeah.
Maybe, okay, so actually we have 5 core values, and then for each role we have taken it and individually figured out what does this look like if they're displaying, say, courageously creative for each individual role, because that looks different for a PPC specialist that's running ads versus a social media coordinator who's doing social. Like what they're actually doing is different. But we made that a part of our annual performance review. So we have 5 things for each core value. So there's 5 core values and 5 items. So it's 25 things. And it's black or white, yes or no for each of the 5 sub things. And then, so if they're more yes for the core value, so they get 3 out of 5, then they're yes overall. And then we allow that to drive the percentage of raise. So let's say that we have a budgeted amount that they might raise, but they're only 3 out of 5 core values, and they're only going to get 70% of the amount we had budgeted. But it has really brought back like that actionable connection of the core value. So we don't just say we're courageously creative. They all know we're going to actually measure how you performed in your role, applied to you directly, because we know that your role is individual. But that has been really cool. And then we obviously we want to evolve and change, because maybe we realized we didn't get it right or it wasn't clear enough. It's a living, breathing thing, and we want feedback from our team, not employees, as well. But I really love that part, and we actually got that advice from our business coach to like lay it out that way. And I've been through a lot of performance reviews in jobs that I've been, but I've never had it directly tied to core values quite in that way. So I don't actually know how our employees feel about it. We should ask them. I mean, it makes sense to them. It actually takes a lot of the emotion out of a review. Absolutely. And the dollar amount that they're getting from a raise, that they just know it's all a numbers thing. And it just, it can be so subjective and personal. And anyway, especially in our field, because everything we do is we're making things, and it's not always easy to measure. And so when in a world that's very subjective, we try to bring it down to something that's very measurable and less emotional. That way they don't think it's just because we don't like them, basically. Or because we really like them. Either way.
Yes. You have some kind of a gauge to go off of.
Yeah. So that might be another way for you guys to figure out how that looks. I think that one of the things that you guys do that's really cool is you actually highlight one of your client or one of your employees each month. They get a core value award, and you post them on the website, and you also post them in their social, and you do a really good job celebrating them as a team. And we don't quite do it that way. So maybe that's something we can do.
There you go. So that is another work environment that I wanted to create at Grandview. Was I want to make sure that we focus on work, but also have an opportunity to help our people to develop personally as well. Mm-hmm. Because if you only focus on work, you're simply going to have a bunch of guys that show up and get work done, and they literally turn into maybe they focus only on showing up for work, so therefore they can't necessarily grow personally and professionally, so that you're actually able to actually see them succeed in life beyond their job. Mm-hmm. So,
tell me about personal growth. You're talking about that a little bit. I know it's important to you. I asked you what you do for fun, and you said you read.
I know I sound like a boring guy, right?
Well, what does that look like for you? I know you work with a business coach. You read a lot. I do too. I'm just curious, like, why is that important to you? What does that look like?
So if you would have known me going back even 3-4 years, you would have seen a different kind of Wes sitting here. And what I mean by that is I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. I struggle with, things of my past and so forth. And to develop that, I had to go inside of myself and be like, okay, these things actually need to be worked on, and I need to see who I am truly. And then I also did hire a business coach in 2021, actually 2020, and I've been with him since. Really liked him. He's focused on mindset. He has helped me to build a lot of confidence in myself that I didn't even know I had. And then in 23 or 24, last spring, I was at a business event, and there was a neuro coach there. And I enjoyed information on that. I just didn't fully understand how, the brain and all that works. And so I had a session with her and she focused on getting connected with me at a different level than what I had ever experienced before. Digging into how my mind actually affects, the decisions that I make, and that so often when we get hung up on stress and all that, it's typically us trying to be somebody that we're actually not, and afraid or being shameful of ourselves. And so what I've started to do every day to make sure that I focus on continually developing myself is reading 10 pages a day. That's it. That helps me to get through books, but then I also want to do practical steps to bring to bring the book into myself. Not necessarily trying to make myself into a box, because I hate that idea is to put people in boxes. It drives me nuts. But seeing how I can develop based on the information that I'm reading, and not necessarily trying to put myself into the whole book, but getting out what I can apply, and then focusing on that.
What's your favorite books you've read over the last couple of years? Do you have any standouts?
Yeah, and probably now I can't even think of all the titles. But Gary Bontrager has a very good book that has helped me substantially.
Okay.
And I forget the name of it, so we can look it up afterwards. But another one that I'm reading through right now is Atomic Habits.
Yes, that's a good one.
I really like that one.
It is really good. 1% better.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one I read literally right before that was 7 Habits.
Oh.
So it was rather interesting. So first of all, it was his book, which is geared towards mindset. The second one was the 7 Habits, which is very deep. And then the third one is Atomic Habits, which is actually basically a follow-up. And I've really enjoyed those 3 books.
Yeah, those are really good ones. I have actually not read all of the 7 Habits. I have the highlights. I haven't read it in detail, but I did read Atomic Habits. I really liked that one. It's interesting that you say you just try to take out the couple of points, because the 1% better every day, that's my main takeaway from that. I always think I should go back and read that again so I can figure out what else could I be applying. I was trying to think through. Do you like to read anything? Are you kind of have you read? I would recommend Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. Do you like to read, or do you listen?
Read.
Okay.
Yeah.
I listened to that one on Audible because Matthew McConaughey reads it, and he's very dramatic. I mean, he's an actor, so he read it really well. But it was really entertaining. It was really quick read for me. But he talks a lot about mindset in his own life. So I read it around the same time that I read Atomic Habits, and they're completely opposite books. James Clear is a little bit dry in his writing. Do you know what I'm saying? You have to kind of pay attention to it. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's
content,
absolutely great.
But it's a little dry. Matthew McConaughey, you don't have to try. You're just listening. You're oh my. So I would recommend that one in case. But just some really great points in that, life is short.
Very
and
true.
We can have goals and we can go after it, but we spend a lot of time and energy worrying about things we should not be worrying about, people liking us. And,
yes.
Not that doesn't matter, but the reality is, especially when you're a business owner, you're going to be put on a pedestal. People are going to watch what you do, and it can be really easy to say, I don't feel good about this because I don't know what people are going to say about it. But if it's something God has called you to do, then you need to do it no matter what. And
to follow up on that last point there about what God has called you to do, I also have a pretty strong mindset on this. Is we've all been given gifts and talents by our Creator, and each of our people have those as well. And how can we bring those talents into the workforce to help them actually be who they truly can be and all they can be? Because here is another mindset that I like to reflect on. I do enjoy reflecting a little bit, and I do tend to sometimes go back into the woods just by myself and completely shut everything else out and just take a little notepad along or something like that and just start writing. And one of the things that I reflected on recently was trying to be the best or giving your best. And they sound almost the same, but if you really think about it, everybody wants to be the best. But compared to what? If you what are you going to compare it to? If you're going to compare it to the guy down the street, it's going to be only as good as he will be. If you say that you're the best roofing company in town, compared to what? I mean, you have to compare it to something if you say the best. But if you say we will give our best, then it brings in a whole new light. We are saying that we will bring our best to the table. I know I kind of
You're measuring yourself against yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because we were all given unique gifts and talents, and it is up to us to make the most of those.
Absolutely. So. I know you kind of lightly adopted EOS, or you at least read it, because we talked about it before. I know I don't think you're actually in that structure right now, but I guess give me some insights into that, because that's actually a really popular thing in our area. Does that affect because what you're talking about, I was thinking about right person, right seat. So I feel like there's some principles out of there that are still inside your organization, because same thing, you don't want to have the wrong person who doesn't have the gift, talent, whatever it is for the position that they're in, when they could be doing something else that they're really meant for.
So there again, the same with any other book that you read, and we had only read the books, is focusing on bringing out principles that you can apply to your business and not trying to build your business around that principle. I might branch a little bit further if I may.
Yeah.
I say the same thing about even sales training. I've been through a lot of different sales trainings, and I've tried to model my business after those. And typically what happens is I get lost in the confusion, and then I try to relate it to the team, and they struggle to actually be able to understand where I'm at. EOS has a lot of good principles. My biggest takeaway from that experience was to not put people in boxes. And that is something I'm pretty strong about, because it kind of limits them as to what they can do. If you instead focus on bringing in principles on structure that can be used in your meetings, for example, we still use some of that structure today. We don't, everything has to be exactly like this or we can't continue the meeting. That's not how we operate. We like to look at it, okay, yeah, we have this principle that actually fits our business, so let's utilize that and not focus on completely changing our whole system. So up until probably about 2020, that's how I operated. Was whatever the last book that I read said, that's the direction I was going to go. And you get a lot more pitfalls that way. With the sales training as well, I've gone through a lot of different ones. Actually, so Jordan Mullet used to be my sales coach as well. I learned a lot from that experience. And with that, I also got a lot of principles from that I still use to this day. We've actually since went into creating our own sales training. And the only reason I'm doing that is to be able to help our guys to grow and to understand how I go about to sell. Is they need to understand where I'm coming from. If they understand the way I do sales and so forth, they can be more comfortable in selling it. And then when I'm also doing trainings and so forth, they actually understand where I'm coming from as well. So it needs to also come from the heart.
What I'm hearing when you're talking about this is like you really have, and I think I have felt this myself, you have identified that you have to be authentically you. You can't pull out, if it doesn't feel right, it's because you're trying to change who you are or who you are as an organization and fit it to a model that maybe doesn't 100% fit you, and then it doesn't work. So you're adopting your sales training to 100% fit you authentically. And I think it's interesting that you're developing your own model. Definitely, I mean, I know you're the top salesperson for your company. I don't know if anybody could outsell Wes. So if you can figure out how to put that into a process or a model or a theory or whatever it is, operations manual, so that somebody else can learn how to sell the way that you do, then I think that is wise. I'm really curious to see how that turns out.
And I also know that I'm not the most structured person in town.
So are you a visionary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
High visionary, but you don't have an integrator right now. So you have a couple.
Well, so I'm a little careful on that as well, because there is a thing where, all of a sudden, if for example, if a visionary gets very busy, there are new problems that come in without realizing it, and his best interest is to receive problems so he can provide solutions, and then also come up with unique ideas. But I have people in place that focus on helping to keep the structure in place. Not necessarily that one of them specifically is an implementer, but there's multiple of them that have gifts and talents in those very specific areas that are needed. For example, on the production side of it, I have somebody that does very good. On the sales side of it, I have somebody that can lead out the sales team. Even in the new construction era, we have somebody that is able to deal with the specific terms and keep them in place. And I don't have to be involved with every last little aspect of it. So, yeah.
It's good. Again, adopting the model to work best for you.
Yes.
This is what Wes does.
Yes. I am typically pretty flexible, but there are some, if it comes down to values, that is when the line gets pretty stiff.
Well, and that's great. That's exactly what they're meant to do. So are we following what we feel like guides us at the bottom? That's what your core values are supposed to do.
Yes.
Guide you as a company, guide you individually. So I love to hear that.
And here recently, actually, I did an assessment.
Okay.
Clifton Strength Finder.
Yes,
have you ever heard of
I
them?
absolutely have done it.
And so I went through a course, The Serving Leader. Really liked the course as well. And on there, they ask you to do the assessment, the Clifton Strength Finder. Well, initially, when I had done the first time around, we only had gotten one of our top one, and that was, at the time, it was WOO, Winning Others Over.
Yeah.
That one is actually number 6 for me right now. But my other ones that really stood out to me was, the top one was visionary. I'm not sure if that's the exact word, but that's what it means. But I think the second one was belief. And I could not figure out why at times my blood pressure rose like crazy. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? But it turns out that I had internalized some of our core values without knowing what they were. And when things arose that contradicted those values, my blood pressure would rise.
Because you had an expectation you didn't know you had and hadn't been set with the team.
Yes.
Yes.
So that was very eye-opening to me.
I say that. I think about that all the time. I mean, that's true with every area of life. If you stop and think about, like, marriage, children, like, when there's usually a point of frustration, it's because there was something there. It didn't go the way you expected or whatever. Big, small, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Expectations will drive that. I always think about that with my response too. Like, why am I so frustrated right now? Well, it's because I expected my kids to do da-da-da-da-da, and they didn't do it exactly like I wanted them to. So, but when you're running a company, it's super important exactly why you should spend time processing those core values, figure out. I actually ask that of our leadership team all the time. If we're assessing something, there was a problem. Did we have an expectation that wasn't clear, either with the client or with our team internally? Like, what was not clear that was the source of frustration, the source of the problem?
And I think actually the biggest thing right now, especially with leaders and business owners, is they are very busy. My question often, and literally yesterday afternoon in church, we were talking about this specific thing. How often do we take time to actually think? Like, I'm not saying going on Google and asking a question, how can I solve this problem? It's taking some time to actually set aside to reevaluate everything and actually take time to think. If you really meditate, I know that might be a strange word in this area, but I think meditating is important. And you can look at examples throughout history, even in the Bible times, of people that literally would sit in their tents thinking. And I had to ask myself the question, so if I'm really truly being a leader that I'm supposed to be, how often am I spending time or taking time, investing time, in actually thinking through who I am, who created me, and who I'm called to be. So,
thinking time is not something I have a lot of right now, but I was also thinking about that yesterday. So I was also sitting in church and I was like, you know what? I can tell when I have enough margin because I have time to think and I have ideas. And it's been a while since I've had a really good idea.
yes.
So then I was like, I need some time to think. But it has to be I need the right circumstances for that. So I could, when it comes down to tasking, nobody tasks better than me. So if I got an inbox, I'm definitely going to work my way through that. And it's just a stage we're in right now. But
I will tell you, though, that is one of my biggest weaknesses.
What, your email?
No. You know that. No, what I'm getting at is having a daily to-do list. I typically just take the next task that jumps out in front of me.
Really?
Yes.
How have you survived?
That's what I'm getting at, is reading through the 7 Habits book. And I know I'm supposed to do this, but it is one of the hardest things for me to do is to make a daily list. So what I've done is set up Outlook as a task list, and then I have the Franklin Planner, and I literally write out all my to-dos, and then I label them from A to B to C. You shouldn't have more than that, hopefully. And then 1, 2, 3 in a manner of importance. And that literally has helped me to get a little more organized in my day-to-day
Do you feel like you're walking around with a lot in your brain all the time?
Yes.
Okay. So I had a coach that told me, it was in, I don't know, 2015 probably. And I was like, I always have so much, it's just up here. And he was like, okay, you have to read Getting Things Done. I forget who it's by, but
I think there's another word in there, but yeah.
It's terrible. It's actually not. It's called Getting Things Done.
Okay.
I know what word you're thinking about. No, that's not the same book. It was written in the 90s. He talks about being organized in a Palm Pilot. This guy was a coach who used to go into business executives who had too much on their plate, and he would literally clean out their offices on the weekend when they weren't working and then set up a system. Ultimately, what it comes down to is you need a place for everything. So he was like, whatever's in your brain, you got to get it out. So I have a digital system. I use Apple products because we're really cool over here, not Microsoft. Anyway, sorry.
We'll talk later.
Okay, so inside my Apple, because it's across all my devices, I have multiple lists. So at the time I set it up, you have a kid list, grocery list, home projects, work projects. I have a fear section, all of the things, and you take everything that's in your brain and you get it out and put it on a list. But then you have your today's to-dos, and the only thing that goes on it is what you're going to actually do today. That way all those things you're carrying around with you every day is parked somewhere, so it doesn't have to carry brain space. You're not going to lose it, but you also don't have to take care of it today. That was a game changer for me to set up that type of system. I have a really hard time with the people in my life who like to use paper because they lose their systems. So now if you're writing it on paper, then you have to rewrite it all the time, or anyway.
I do a lot of typing, but yeah.
I enjoy a good notebook and a journal and all of the things like everybody else, but I have found for organization, note-taking, all of the things, we are a digital organization. You're just doubling up your work if you're not just immediately putting it in your phone or on your computer. So, side note, Fierce team, if you're listening, you better start not using paper. I'm looking at 2 team members right now. So. One of them is also carrying around a notebook with her. So. Anyway, tip, if you are carrying a lot, that has helped a lot because I just know where to go to put it. It comes up no matter where I'm at. I have a list. If I don't have a list, I make a new one because, this is a new category that I need. So
that is one thing that I have really struggled with, and that is to define my roles on a day-to-day basis. And that is essentially what you were telling is you have your parenting role, you have your business role, you have your CEO role, you might have a visionary role. I don't know how you're set up. But is defining those positions or those roles that you truly have and determining how much time will be allowed for each one per day.
Oh, I can't do that.
Well,
that part I can't do. I mean, I'm flipping in and out of mom mode. I have a kid texting me right now while I'm in the podcast with you. It's just, I'm not answering her, but actually, to be clear though, sometimes I do. I'm taking care of my stuff at home and I step out the door and I love you kids, but I forget I have 4 kids and I just come to work and I work and then I leave and I'm like, wait a minute, where are all my kids at? So I'm just very in the moment. Wherever my feet are, that's where I am. That's what I'm trying to do. So.
Yes. Yeah. But that is something that I have worked on in the past. It's something that is kind of on the back burner right now as roles, specifically, just simply from my duty on the sales side of it, needing to focus on getting that in place. So
I got a TikTok video last week of a guy that said in the morning he does anything that will drive his business forward. He does that before noon, and anything that is working in the business he does in the afternoon. And I thought, that is what I need to do. I don't know how to get my life set up like that, but that's the goal. Because I'm the best in the morning. I have my best thinking, my best energy, all of those things. So it makes sense. If you're not a morning person, maybe you would flip-flop those things. But
I mean, even if you'd start off probably with 1 hour in the morning and then
True.
in the afternoon, somewhere you need to start like the 1% change.
Good. Thank you for reminding me. See, even if it's just 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes of the day, what is going to drive my business forward, I'm going to do that thing now before I open my email and realize I have 150 of them.
The emails can be very draining.
Yeah.
And that's why I sometimes don't reply to yours, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not really actually offended.
I know.
I know you well enough to not be offended, but it can, I mean, you're not the only one we have a problem with. I would say emails in general, especially if you're a business owner, is the problem. So
that's why you have good people in place to take care of that for you.
Yes. We know now who to include in the emails, so we will get answers.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Wes, it has been great talking with you today. Thank you for candidly being open about your business journey, what it looks like at Grandview, and just yourself personally. So I really appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can find you online.
It's grandviewexteriorsystems.com. And we're also on Facebook, Instagram,
LinkedIn.
Thank you.
All of the things. Find them on social.
I should have probably told you to do that.
You should.
Because I'm like, where are we on? Actually, I'm not even quite sure. You guys do a wonderful job for us, and I do appreciate it very much.
Thank you. We love working with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, and stay tuned for another Torch Talk later.